What are some stereotypes about Americans? In high school we did have huge house parties with solo cups, kegs, and the police would show up and everyone would run. A lot of Europeans seem to think the solo cups are just a movie thing. Solo cups are definitely a party thing. Even like an adult cookout. I've never seen a house party like the movies though. But I did grow up in a small town without a football team, and according to the movies parties are centered around football. Centered around weed and beer. Party culture and football go hand in hand in movies, is what I was trying to get across. Obese people on scooters riding through Walmart while sipping on a very large cup, 40 ounces and more, of a soft drink. Walmart people are their own species. Yeah, those aren't just Americans. They're Martians. People of Wemartia.com. Being French. The stereotype for Americans always was that they are all dumb, fanatically religious and patriotic, obese and rude, or they are cowboys. It's either. Fuck yeah, I'm a cowboy. Thanks, France. Howdy howdy howdy. Were you thinking of the shark from Toy Story? It's still my favorite scene from those movies. Absolutely. I'm a Texan, and I quote this every day. When I first got on the internet back in the 90s, while on AOL Instant Messenger, someone from Europe asked me if I rode a horse to school when they found out I was from Texas. I live in New Zealand, and an American in a forum somewhere once asked me how I was online if I lived in New Zealand and wanted to know if we had electricity. I've met an American who thought we live in fucking mud huts. We've all seen The Hobbit. We know you live under hills. Jesus. But they are very nice hills. In the end, pretty much whatever is posted in this thread, the most American thing about it will be that America is big enough for all of it to be true. You can drive for like 10 hours and not escape Texas. Shit's off the hook. During WWIR, a German POW escaped from a POW camp up in northern Me. They came across a fairly large lake and assumed that it was Lake Michigan and swam across. What they didn't realize was that it wasn't Lake Michigan, but a normal lake, and were captured by camp guards on the other side. He didn't realize that Lake Michigan is about a 1/4 of Germany. As an American who had been going to various lakes all my life, I was in awe the first time I saw one of the Great Lakes. That shit's an ocean. Yeah lol. I've seen the Great Lakes, and the first time I saw Lake Superior I was kinda confused because it looks like the ocean. And it's got the huge ships too. It's wild. That we all eat McDonald's. That is not true. We also eat Burger King. If you aren't eating Wendy's, you're messing up. Enjoy the Wendy's while you can. We have MCD and back where we are. But no Wendy's. Wendy's is my favorite. Here are some of my stereotypes. I know it won't fit all, but it is the impression I get about lots of Americans. Minsits, based on what reaches me in Europe. You are very political. You choose a party and stick with it for life. No matter the policies. Lobbyists run the country. You drive unnecessarily big cars. You are afraid that if you get in an accident with a bigger car, you will die. So everyone tries to have the biggest car around, leading to people driving trucks just to commute 3 miles to work. It is very hard to eat healthy in the US. Fast food is cheaper than groceries. You make everything fat free and add sugar instead. Images everything. You will bankrupt yourself so that your neighbors will think you're rich. You won't be seen in buses because you think it will make you look poor. You see home ownership as a human right. Only people with low credit score rent their homes. Everyone is friendly to strangers as long as the stranger is not part of any kind of minority. You have great self-confidence, and opinion is more important than facts. If you believe something feels right or wrong, it is more important than any facts presented on the subject. This one is 100% true and grows more every day. It doesn't matter what statistics say. People will always go off their feelings, and nowadays they will shame you for not agreeing with them. Most people I know, including myself sometimes, don't speak up on most polarizing issues because cancel culture is so toxic here nowadays that just saying something that somebody else doesn't agree with will possibly cause you your job. Just yesterday I had an argument because some people thought that suddenly removing a whole type of large companies from the market couldn't possibly have any negative impact on the economy just because they disliked that companies. Cowboys. Yeehaw and guns. I heard Texas is like that. And Alberta. And Bavaria. I thought Germans were into American Indians, not cowboys. Large food proportions. American tourists never dress properly for where they are. When I lived in the UK, my family would come visit us from America. We'd greet them at the terminal gate. Are the halcyon pre-9/11 years. And as that plane emptied out, we'd see the procession. A bewildered parade of loud jabbering bickering masses completely oblivious to the cold miserable wet rock they just landed on. Light floral print button t-shirts. Khaki shorts. Ankle socks. They'd arrive and just immediately start complaining about the weather. Like this frigid blustery overcast sky hasn't been hanging over us perpetually since the Thatcher years. And like it's somehow our fault. I mean, how dare we? With our weather. Oops. Sorry guys. Didn't know you were coming in. Let us just flip on over the old gloom setting from Mordor to Bora Bora for ya. Shall we send out the memos to start driving on the right as well? Sit tight. We'll bulldoze all these confusing roundabouts while we're at it. Or, if it's not too much a bother, perhaps just stop complaining about England being so Englandy. Maybe? Light floral print button t-shirts. These are called Hawaiian shirts. You are required to wear them while on vacation regardless of where you go. That's just the rule. Also, we complain about the weather over here too. It's how we start conversations with people. This was just them trying to say hello. We have a saying in insert home state here. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Everyone from every state says this. That's just how weather fucking works. Loud. I didn't realize how loud we were until I went to Italy for a college class for 3 weeks. We are loud. When somebody from outside the US mentions a normal part of their daily life, at least one of you will be inexplicably mad and or condescending about it because they can't comprehend that things are different in different countries and that not everyone they bump into online is American. That is rather funny. Read this thread. Either dumb rednecks or corrupt politicians. No middle. Usually, it's both. That we are self-absorbed and ignorant when it comes to other countries, which tbh is pretty true lol. It honestly really annoys me when Americans talk about Europe as if it is a country, rather than an actual continent on which there are like 50 different countries that are in most cases completely different from one another. People in Europe do this. People in Europe wear that. And so on and so forth. In Europe where? What country are you talking about? Is it Sweden? Spain? Maybe Romania? Do you think we regularly eat tapas here in Sweden? Or that Spaniards take regular fika breaks during the day? God damn it. Being way too proud about their country. Don't understand Europe. Being overweighted. Happy Cake Day BTW. Yet proudly tout their European heritage. As a Scot I can confirm this. The amount of Americans I've had tell me they are Scottish because their great grandfather was Scottish is unreal. Irish here and in the same boat. We just laugh. Tell them they're a plastic paddy and to cop onto themselves. With no bother with someone claiming a heritage. It's when they say it makes them Irish because they have corned beef and cabbage and hate the English we tell them to fuck off. I have corned beef and cabbage, which makes me gassy. As an American living in Europe, these are the main ones I experience from others. They don't learn non-English languages to fluency. They speak loudly in public. Their kids are out of control in public. They hold their vowel sounds unnecessarily long. And about half of them are dumb. Trump supporting, gun toting, Bible thumping Republicans. This one is funny because you can always tell when people meet you that they try to figure out if you are one of them or not in the first few minutes of conversation. How to spot an American as an expat living in Germany. I know exactly what you are talking about. Every time something happens in the US, my German friends blow up my phone wanting me to explain what is going on over there. The best is when they try to sneakily figure out my politics. This is even more funny because I have a German hunting license, so they are all convinced I'm Trump Minister who secretly wants to start the German Boogaloo. They simply cannot grasp that I'm just a normal person who wants to live my life and occasionally eat fresh venison while enjoying living with my wife and seeing my grandkid. So true. The political questions are tough for me because I really don't follow politics in the US so closely since the 2016 election. I moved in 2017. But people expect me to have some extraordinary take on every matter. It is fun for me to tell people at parties that I don't speak German and then chime in a conversation in perfect German about 20 minutes later and see if they realize or just go with it. Yep, exactly. I have lived here since 2008 and I'm still expected to have an encyclopedic grasp of American politics. It can be hilarious at times. Alabama. Fat, arrogant, obsessed with money. Dumb, fat, nationalistic, hateful, divisive. Only country to have people dumb enough to tattoo their flags, in some case, even a losing Confederation flag, on them. But on St. Pat Day, half of them is Irish. Suddenly, I think the term you are looking for is alcoholic. Very friendly, but any mention of ban on guns, they will be your worst enemy. Hey, it's in the foundation of our country, so it's sorta staying like that. Also tell me what would benefit from banning guns. Less gun probably. Stereotypes I've heard tend to be overweight, stupid, ignorant, proud. I honestly feel bad about some of them because it's just the way they are taught. They are taught to be ridiculously patriotic and they aren't taught shit about other countries. Hold on. In 3rd grade I was taught specifically about China, Egypt, and Maya, and that's honestly it. I mean, those are good places to pick, I suppose. One I like reading from the How to Spot an American thread that pops up sometimes is how friendly/boisterous we can be. I prefer obnoxious and noisy. No idea what you're talking about. They know nothing about history and geography. So true. I often travel from Montreal to a local town within the American border and most have never been to Montreal. They are literally 1.5 hours away and have never even considered crossing the border. On holiday, you say you're from Canada, but we know you're not. The only people I've met with voices as loud as Americans are Russians. Damn. In Berlin I told everyone I was from Canada, so they knew? Here are the ones that I see get raised a lot, along with my thoughts on them. Americans are loud. Thoughts, mostly true. One of my most reliable ways to spot American tourist or tourists is to look for the people who are speaking way louder than everyone else. I feel like America needs to have some people from other countries come over and do indoor voice training. Americans have an unhealthy obsession with guns. Thoughts, mostly true. In most of the world, even other gun-friendly nations, guns are mostly seen as tools for sport or pest control. America is one of the only developed nations where they are seen as a weapon, whose primary purpose is for self-defense. Americans are all fat. Thoughts, somewhat true. It's not universal, but I do definitely notice a much larger preponderance of fat people when I'm visiting the States. And your portion sizes are ridiculous. Thoughts, completely true. Holy shit. How do you guys eat so much food? Americans are selfish. Thoughts, I find this one comes down to a difference in worldview. America is the most individualistic country in the developed world, and to those of us with a more collectivist outlook, that comes across as being selfish to an almost sociopathic extent. Americans are opinionated. Thoughts, this one I actually disagree with. I don't think Americans are any more or less opinionated than anyone else. I think this probably comes from the fact that America occupies an outsized position in the global zeitgeist, being the media center of the world, and so we tend to hear American opinions more than any other. Americans are nationalistic. Thoughts, yeah, kinda true. You guys have a weird obsession with your flag. You guys stamp it on fucking everything. In most parts of the world, you'll seldom see the national flag or hear the national anthem. Seeing that much of an emphasis on national identity and pride is something that most places in the world associate with fascist dictatorships. I live in a rural area, so according to this site I support Trump. I'm heavily armed to the point I have more guns than half of Britain. Am considered by armchair intellectuals as idiotic. and like to eat baby cows slathered with a fuck ton of sauce while doing donuts in a pickup truck covered with a Confederate flag. I'm from England and that is my dream. One day, it's way more fun than what it should be. Guns. 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 Giant pink Cadillacs with steer horns on the front. Driven by overweight owners of Texan oil companies who wear brown corduroy suits and a barlow tie. They say howdy partner and are presumably cowboys. Not everyone owns a Texas oil company. Some partly own one in Oklahoma. Florida Man. The crazy wacky adventures of Florida Man should be a TV show or comic strip. Many people are obese and are obsessed with fast food. If you are new to Tattletale TV, please subscribe. I have new videos every day. Stay tuned right now for another